Shalom, shalom. First off, I want to start out by giving all the glory, infinite praise, and honor unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rahakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Peace, love, and salutation to the hopeful elect that is out there pushing this truth in all sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth, giving diligence to make your calling and election sure. Shalom. This is your brother Hashah from the Great Millstone Savannah Camp, coming back in the spirit with another lesson. Lord willing, I pray and hope that it is edifying and exhorting. All right, and this is just a news and prophecy video. All right, just pretty hard to focus on much here lately, but the prophecies that are speaking loud and clear. All right, but I just want to do this lesson, going into the woes that are coming upon America, coming upon the world. All right, but primarily America, Babylon the Great, and how this thing is plaguing you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, how it's going to affect you. All right, and basically the apostles and the elders have been sounding that trumpet, sounding that alarm for 30 plus years, and little to no people have hearkened. All right, only a small remnant, only a small sanctuary, which is written. All right, it just says no kings. Demonstrators take to the streets nationwide to protest Trump administrations. All right, it says roughly 2,000 no king rallies are expected across the country. That's a lot when you talk about cities. All right. And even if 100 people showed up, that's what 250,000 people, which is a lot of people. All right, but there were way more at these protests. So, hey, it was a lot of people disagree with what's taking place. All right, and we know what this is going to lead to. Okay. And Trump just basically said that he's gonna start going after Antifa, all right, labeling them a terrorist organization and going after them, all right, and through what he's doing with setting up these different organizations with basically deputizing these different organizations, ICE, all right, the National Guard, sending them into these cities. All right, it could very well create a civil war. Okay, and I just want I'm not gonna go into this article too much, but these protests took place in Chicago, Atlanta. There was one here in Savannah. All right, New York. All right, it says nearly 7 million people attend the No Kings rally across the country today, marking the largest single-day nationwide demonstration in U.S. history. That's big, So, hey, that's crazy. But it's all part of the scriptures. Let me read this little excerpt. It says, today, millions of Americans stood together to reject authoritarianism, right? Which is, they're calling it fascism, right? And to be anti-fascism is going to be what? Terrorize. You're going to be labeled a terrorist, all right? You're going to be labeled an enemy of the state. It says, and to remind the world that our democracy belongs to the people, not to one man's ambition, all right? And, what's jumping off the page, and that's spiritual too, that his name is Ezra, all right? Because that's, what we're going to be going into in a second here, all right? But this is Proverbs 29 in the GNTD, Proverbs 29. In verse 2, it says, show me a righteous ruler, and I will show you a happy people, right? And then it says what? Show me a wicked ruler, and I will show you a miserable people. And what you're seeing, is all over the internet. People are crashing out. People are upset. All right, especially the so-called white people, the Edomites. All right, the Maggers. All right, they're full of regret. All right, that they voted, for this authoritarian and regime, this fascist regime, um, that's basically gutting out their, um, gutting out their programs. All right, that benefit them. All right, what Trump is trying to do is, come after the tribes, but it's affecting all people, right? And really and truly, that's what it's made to do. Okay, but you maggers, you thought that this man was for you. You thought that he was gonna change something for you. All right, and as long as you are, have the social status that is above the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American, you feel okay with what he's doing. All right, a lot of you are quiet on the matter. Okay, but some of you are, standing out. I was watching the Elder Yashawama's video earlier, going into the soybean farmers, how they're basically going bankrupt. All right, they went from $1 billion industry, going to China buying $0 worth of soy this year. So that's gonna affect a lot of people. That's gonna affect these family farms that have been handed down through generations. And we're happy about it. We're proud about it because you people, um, you have lived, and the scripture says you live deliciously. You know, um, and you all, as long as, like I say, as long as you were above the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American, you were okay. All right, but now you see that your blessing, all right, is not going your way. Okay, that your kingdom is crumbling and falling right before your eyes. Now you are upset. Okay, but you should have laid these things to heart. You should have been prepared for these things to happen to you. You thought this place was going to go on forever. Okay. It says if you appreciate wisdom, your parents will be proud of you. It is a foolish waste to spend money on prostitutes. It says when the king is concerned with justice, the nation will be strong. But when he is only concerned with money, he will ruin his country. Woo. And a lot of you so-called Negroes and Latinos, you voted for Trump because you think he's about the money, which he is a businessman, right? But he's also, when it comes to business, you take a lot of gambles, all right? When a good businessman, they take gambles, all right, and they don't care who they hurt as long as they come out on top in the end. And the billionaires of this society, they're gonna come out on top in the end, and it's you middle class, you average, working class citizens that are gonna suffer, all right, and your children are gonna suffer. If this place were to go on for another 50 years, your children will be through. They be on UBI, they be on universal basic income, all right, they be in a digital prison, all right, they wouldn't be able to go anywhere, they wouldn't be able to buy anything, okay, they be stuck. But the Lord is going to shorten the days. So, thankfully, for the elect's sake, the Lord is going to shorten those days, and you won't be able to see that happen. All right, and the Lord is going to take this place out before that happens. But, you should have thought about these things, man. Okay. Now I want to get Second Esdras, 16 and 17. It says, woe is me, who will deliver me in those days? And this is Ezra speaking, right? Because he's seen the vision of what will be taking place in the latter days, okay? And he was saying, this is going to be so bad, what am I going to do? Verse 18, it says, the beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death, right? And kind of segueing into the other topic of discussion, right? These SNAP benefits, right? It says, will SNAP benefits be affected by the government shutdown? 40 million Americans could miss out on uh, if the stalemate continues. All right. So not only is is the working class citizen facing uh, increase, right, in healthcare costs, right, monthly healthcare costs, but the majority of these Edomites are on SNAP and EBT benefits, along with a good a good number of you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans as well. Okay, so that famine, right, that lack of food, whether it's artificial or whether it's a real, a natural famine. All right, because back in the day, famine used to just be when there was no rain. All right, and all the crops died and there was no food to go around. Well, this is a artificial famine, right? This is caused by unnatural disasters, right? Meaning economic. Okay, it says, but this is all a part of the sorrows that are coming upon Babylon the Great. It says the beginning of famine and great death. And, along with this, these things are going to spiral out of control into violence and great death. Okay. It says the beginning of wars and the power shall stand in fear. The beginning of evils. What shall I do when these evils shall come? And this is Ezra's asking. He saw the evil times. He seen people, committing cannibalism. He seen people pining away. He seen the World War III. All right. And he was asking, what am I going to do, Lord? But, through the Spirit, Ezra is a man of the Lord. He's going to be good. All right. Verse 19, it says, behold, but of course, it's still a fearful thing with men. Right? It says, behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for amendment. So all these things are taking place for amendment so that there could be a change in behavior. All right. So men can fear the Lord. All right. But yet there is none. Okay. Verse 20, it says, but for all these they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges. All right. And during the C-19, you seen people, they were mindful. People were actually, semi being mindful. They were getting in touch with the Lord. A lot of people were calling on the Lord. During those lockdowns, people were miserable, man. They were in the house. People actually picked up the Bible and started reading. A lot of people start, looking into things, researching things. They were left to their own devices. All right. But then the lockdowns let up. The people were able to go back outside and they got rocked right back asleep. All right. And the Lord is on the back burner again. So the Lord said, all right, you're not mindful of the scourges. Well, I'm going to send more. All right. And they're going to be worse. It says, behold, victuals shall be so good, cheap upon the earth that they shall think themselves to be in good case. So a lot of people think themselves to be in good case. Like, the brother Yanakar said in our camp, man, he said you can go to the grocery store, you can still stop by McDonald's and get you a, $6 meal, right? Which it used to be, $2, $3 meal. Now it's $6, but it's still, kind of cheap. Okay. If you need food, you can still get it relatively cheap, but soon you can still get gas is cheap, man. Gas is down here and where I'm at, it's $2.50 something now, $2.60 something now, right? And these people think they're good as long as they can go to work still, all right. And basically the U.S. dollar is just propped up. It's right for the picking. It's really only standing up because people are still going to work. right? People are still, people still have their trust in it. That's the only reason it works, you know. But it's fiat, and people are starting to, buy into gold. They're starting to, do other things, okay, because they know it's gonna crash. But the American people, they're asleep. It says that they shall think themselves to be in good case, and even then shall evils grow upon the earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. And that's what's going on. Great confusion, right? And it's gonna come with the sword. Wait till there is no food. Well, wait till these different nigga women, even Edomites, when they can't go to the store and get food, man, it's gonna start going down, man. If this government shutdown continues, all right, violence is gonna ensue. All right, and we here at Great Millstone, we pray, you know, we pray, we wish death and evil and destruction upon this place, man. Okay, because this is the place of wickedness, man. This place was built upon blood. It was built upon rape, robbery, and murder and lies. So we don't wish it good, man. Okay, verse 22, it says, "For many of them that dwell upon the earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy." Okay, and ultimately, Salakia. All right, if the Lord don't get you by famine, the chariot's gonna get you, or the noose gonna get you, man. All right. So hey, we in that time. We're in those times, man. All right, let's get this. Shall I eat bread? Let's see. Ezekiel chapter 4. And I'm gonna start at 16. All right, just the point. It says, "Moreover, he said unto me, Son of man, behold, I will break the staff of bread in Jerusalem, and they shall eat bread by measure and with care, and they shall drink water by measure and with astonishment, that they may want bread and water, and be astonished with one another, and consume away for their iniquity." So, amongst you tribes, man, hey, this time of Jacob's trouble, okay, it's gonna come with famine. It's gonna come with, not having anything to eat. All right, and that's a part of what the Lord, those scourges, man, that the Lord put forth. Okay, this is, these are the times that we're in, and Jake's not taking it serious, right? Jeremiah 30:6. All right, good, old faithful. All right, and this, pretty soon, we have pretty much spoken all we need to, I would say, even a lot more than we need to, but Yahweh Shem Yahushua, it's still, it's still got to be some elect out there. There's still got to be some 11th hour Israelites who are seeing these things take place, and their minds are starting to wonder and activate. All right, the Lord is cutting out all the mirth, okay, and people are starting to take heed. There's a lot of haters, but there's, hate brings exposure, and all, like the saying in the world goes, all publicity is good publicity, right? Good or bad. So, the Hebrew Israelite thing is being put on the forefront. You got Nate the snake, sending his minions out to the church, whatever it is, 20 something, 19, whatever, to debate with the Christians, or to march, all right, causing a stir, a ruckus. But what it's going to do is cause people to look up things. They're going to go, some may stumble across GMS. Now, hey, this is a group you really got to hear word of mouth about, because you really can't, when you go on YouTube, it's not going to pull up. You search Israelites, we're not going to come up. They pretty much shadow banned us from these different trending, topics or the forefront. All right. But the few people that this word is meant for, they're going to get it, man. They're going to wake up. Okay. They're seeing this travail come upon the people. He says, ask ye now and see whether a man doth travail with child. Women have children, men don't. It says, wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness. All right. Because the times are going to be that bad, man. All right. That a man's face is going to be like pale, like he's having a baby, like he's trying to push out a baby. You're going to be in pains. They're going to have birth pains, and that's not talking literally. It's just talking about the condition of the men. Okay. It says, alas, for the day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. So all these little YNs, these unbelieving niggas, these Christians, everybody who is, playing around in these times, everything's a joke. Everything's got to be fucking, and excuse my language, everything's got to be funny. You got a joke and making a joke out of everything. You come around, everything, they asking you, why you so serious? Well, we in some serious times. And niggas is always fucking playing, man. And the Lord's gonna get you niggas, man. And that's what this time was created for. All right, let's get let's see. Yep. Amos chapter 5 and verse 18. Woe unto you that desire the day of the Lord. To what end is it for you? The day of the Lord is darkness and not light. As if a man did flee from a lion and a bear met him, or went into a house and leaned his hand on the wall and a serpent met him, and the serpent bit him. So shall the day of the Lord be darkness and not light, even very dark and no brightness in it. And ultimately, if you don't have the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, if you haven't been sowing the right way, okay, then what you're gonna reap is darkness. You're gonna reap the things that you have sown, okay, and all that playing and laughing and giggling is gonna be turned into mourning and cries and suffering. The Lord is turning these times bitter. The Lord is not playing. The Lord is touching the wickedness of Babylon the Great. We're in that time where we're seeing the downfall of this place, and it's only a matter of time, okay? And we love it, man. Us at Great, we don't shy away from the prophecies. We're catching hell, all right? But the Lord got us, The Lord is gonna make provisions, okay? So yeah, that's pretty much all I had. Matter of fact, nope, I want to get one more, my favorite lately, man. This is okay. Isaiah 47:7, and thou saidest, I shall be a lady forever. And this is speaking about Esau, Edom, Babylon the Great. Okay, right? Babylon the Great, man. Okay, America, modern day America. It says, and thou saidest, I shall be a lady forever, so that thou didst not lay these things to thy heart, neither didst remember the latter end of it. Therefore, hear now this, thou that art given to pleasures, that dwellest carelessly, that sayest in thy heart, I am, and none else beside me. I shall not sit a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. But these two things shall come upon thee in a moment, in one day, the loss of children and widowhood. They shall come upon thee in their perfection for the multitude of thy sorceries, and for the great abundance of thy enchantments. For thou hast trusted in thy wickedness. Thou hast said, none seeth me. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge, it hath perverted thee. And thou hast said in thy heart, I am, and none else beside me. And this is the pride of these people. All right. But the Lord is taking that pride away. You know, the Lord is taking that mirth away, man. Okay. It says, therefore shall evil come upon thee, and thou shalt not know from whence it riseth. And mischief shall fall upon thee, and thou shalt not be able to put it off. And desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt not know. Right? And we're coming into the times of desolation. America's gonna be desolate. All right, from sea to shining sea. You know, and hey, we love to see it, man. So with that, Lord willing, you know, this lesson was edifying and exhorting. I want to end off by giving all the glory, infinite praise, and honor unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Peace, love, and